Imagine fighting a war where the country supplying your weapons can stop sending spare parts at any moment, where every missile fire depends on another nation's approval, where your national security is controlled by someone else's factory. That was India's reality for decades. But over the last 10 years, India has launched one of the most ambitious military transformation of 21st century. From indigenous missiles and fighter aircrafts to aircraft carriers, drones, satellites and hypersonic weapons. A new military power is emerging and the world is finally beginning to notice. For decades, the global military hierarchy was a closed club. You had the United States with its unparalleled force protection, then you have Russia with massive armored and nuclear legacy, and the rapid, undeniable, and the heavily funded rise of China. India, on the other hand, was largely viewed as a massive sleeping giant. It was a nation boasting sheer demographic numbers and a strategic geographical location, but it was severely crippled by one fatal flaw. It relied on the outside world to secure its own borders. To understand why the world is suddenly rewriting its geopolitical strategies to align with New Delhi, we have to look back at the historical vulnerabilities that haunted the Indian military. In a major conflict, relying on foreign nations for fighter jets, engines, artillery shells and radar system is a time-ticking bomb. The turning point wasn't a sudden epiphany. It was a series of harsh geopolitical lessons. During the 1999 Kargil War, when India desperately needed precise satellite data to track hostile infiltrators high in the Himalayas, accessing to the global positioning system was restricted. It was a stark reminder. You cannot fight a sovereign war with borrowed technology. Today, that giant has not only woken up but it has completely rewritten the rulebook. According to the SIPRI reports for the 2025, India cemented its position as the world's fifth largest military spender, backing by its ambitious with a defense budget exceeding $92 billion. By the 2026-27 fiscal year, India's defense allocation surged to a historic 7.85 lakh crore rupees, allocating over 2 lakh crore strictly for capital outlay and the modernization of its armed forces. But it is not just about throwing massive piles of money at problem. The real foundational game changer has been aggressive, uncompromising push towards indigenous manufacturing under the Make in India initiative. Historically, India carried the burdensome title of the world's largest arms importer. Today, the landscape is unrecognizable. Domestic defense production has hit a record 1.78 lakh crore rupees. Two massive defense industrial corridors in Uttar Pradesh and Tamil Nadu are opening at its full power. Private sector giants like Tata, L&T and Mahindra, alongside thousands of specialized micro, small and medium enterprises, are now building world-class artillery, autonomous drones and heavily armored vehicle right at home. The transformation is so profound that India has transitioned from a desperate import-dependent nation to an aggressive net exporter. Defense exports have grown by an astonishing 5,500% in just over a decade, reaching over 38,000 crore rupees by 2026. Global militaries are taking notice. The supersonic BrahMos cruise missile, a marvel of kinetic energy and precision, is been exported to Philippines to secure the South China Sea. The Pinaka multi-barrel rocket system is actively being deployed by Armenia. The world is no longer just selling weapons to India. The world is buying Indian technology. While the shift in manufacturing is impressive, the true lethality of India's modernization is the best understood by looking up. Up in the sky. Modern wars are not war in trenches, they are won in the skies. The Indian Air Force is currently undergoing one of the most complex transformations in military aviation history, shifting from a fleet of aging Soviet-era interceptor to a highly networked, technologically superior force. To comprehend this, we have to examine the mechanical and the aerodynamic evolution of the India's fighter fleet. For years, the backbone of Indian Air Force have been the Su-30 MKI, a heavy twin-engine air superiority fighter. What makes the Indian variant terrifying in a dogfight is its thrust vectoring nozzles attached to its AL31FP turbofan engine. Unlike standard engines that push exhaust straight back, the nozzles of Su-30 MKI can pivot. That means it can change its direction. This allows the jet to perform extreme physics-defined maneuvers like the Cobra move, like you have seen in the Top Gun movie, pointing its nose at an enemy while still moving forward. It's an aerodynamic masterpiece. But the future of Indian Air Force relies heavily on indigenous brilliance, starting with the HAL Tejas Mark 1 and scaling up to the highly anticipated Advanced Medium Combat Aircraft or the AMCA. The leap to the fifth generation stealth is not about a sleek shape. It requires absolute mastery over the thermodynamics and the radar cross-section. In older jets, missiles are carried on external pylons, acting like a giant mirror for an enemy's radar. The MK, however, is designed around an internal weapons bay. By hiding the munition inside the fuselage, the jet's aerodynamic profile remains flawlessly smooth, making it nearly impossible to be detected on hostile radar networks. Furthermore, the MK's serpentine air intakes are specifically engineered to hide the highly reflective engine turbine blades from incoming radar waves. By simultaneously integrating advanced 4.5 gen aircraft like the French Rafale, increasing the operationalization of the indigenous Tejas, and aggressively pursuing the fifth generation AMCA, India is ensuring it dictates the term of engagement in airspace over South Asia. The battlefield of future will be dominated by those who control the invisible domains. And India is currently integrating AI-based technologies for surveillance, electronic warfare, and autonomous battlefield decision making to make sure its jets never fly blind. All of this advanced technology leads to India's most daunting strategic reality. India's military doctrine is uniquely complex because it has to prepare for a nightmare that no other modern military faces: a simultaneous two-front war against two nuclear-armed neighbors. This is not a theoretical exercise, it is an active logistical requirement. To fight on two fronts, the Indian military must possess the capability to deploy heavy armor in the blistering 50 degrees Celsius Thar desert of Rajasthan, while simultaneously sustaining infantry combat in the freezing, oxygen-deprived Himalayan peak of Ladakh at an altitude of exceeding more than 15,000 feet. In the mountains, the air is so thin that the standard helicopters cannot generate enough lift, and the infantry soldiers carry less gear because simply walking drains immense physical energy. The shift from theoretical planning to combat-proven readiness becomes undeniable in recent years, highlighted by aggressive, integrated campaigns against the hostile infrastructure. India's push for tri-service integration, where the Army, Navy, and Air Force operate under the Joint Theatre Commands, has eliminated operational silos. It exposes the reality of India's modernized strike capabilities, which now include the deployment of integrated drone swarms capable of overwhelming enemy air defense, loitering munition that can circle a target for hours before striking, and an impenetrable multi-layer air defense network shielded by indigenous Akash system and the devastatingly effective S-400, the Sudarshan surface-to-air missile batteries. Learning from global conflicts, the Indian Army is rapidly restructuring. They are abandoning the archaic, slow-moving infantry tactics and raising new specialized, highly mobile units. We are seeing the integration of light commandos battalion in all-armed brigade and a dedicated drone platoon within all infantry battalions. The modern Indian soldier is no longer just a rifleman, they are a node in a massive digitalized battlefield network. While the Himalayan border demands constant freezing vigilance, the most profound shift in India's global power projection is happening silently beneath the waves. Look at the map of Indian Ocean. It's not just a body of water, it is the economic jugular vein of the planet. 80% of the world's seaborne oil trade and massive portion of global manufacturing cargo passes through these waters, specifically through strait choke point like the Strait of Malacca. Whoever controls the Indian Ocean holds a knife to the global economy. For decades, adversaries attempted to encircle India through a string of pearl strategy, which is building commercial and military outposts in the neighboring countries. India has countered this not with a coastal defense force but by aggressively expanding its formidable blue water navy. India is one of the few nations on earth capable of designing, building, and operating its own aircraft carriers. The operational success of the indigenous aircraft carrier, the INS Vikrant, is a masterclass in naval engineering, displacing 45,000 tons of steel and carrying an entire air wing of MiG-29Ks and advanced helicopters. The Vikrant acts as a floating sovereign air base that can project power hundreds of miles from India's mainland. This naval expansion is relentless. The commissioning of new stealth-guided missile destroyers like Vishakhapatnam class alongside advanced Scorpion class submarines highlights a fleet expansion aimed over at 170 warships. But the ultimate deterrent lies deep beneath the underwater. In early 2026, we saw the expansion of Arihant class nuclear power submarine fleets. These vessels carry nuclear tipped ballistic missiles and are capable of remaining submerged for months without surfacing. They solidify the highly secretive and devastatingly lethal sea leg of India's nuclear triad, guaranteeing an overwhelming second strike capability. This global alliance, India is systematically reducing its historical independence on Russian military hardware, diversifying its strategic partnerships and holding massive joint military exercises with United States, France, Japan, and Australia. Through groupings like Quad, India has cemented its role as a counterbalance to the authoritarian expansion in the region. Breaking from its strict traditional non-aligned posture, India is now signing landmark security pact with Europeans and Asian allies, expanding cooperation deeply into cyber, space, and maritime domain. In an era where the geopolitical center of gravity has shifted firmly to the Indo-Pacific, Western powers have realized a crucial, undeniable truth. Any strategy to balance power and maintain a free and open Indo-Pacific is geographically and mathematically impossible without India. The world is suddenly taking the Indian military seriously because the sleeping giant didn't just wake up, it fundamentally changed the rule of the game. India is no longer just preparing to defend its borders. It has built an integrated, technologically advanced ecosystem designed to deter aggression, dominate in the airspace, and project immense power on the global scale. From thrust vectoring engines of its fighter jet to the silent nuclear depth of its submarine fleet, India stands today as an undeniable military superpower. What do you think about it? Let me know in the comments. You are watching the first episode of the Rise of India series. Share this video with your friends and family so that they could know the legacy they are living in. Thank you very much.